Hey, everybody. Bo Hudson back with you with all things voiceover, my favorite thing to talk about. And I try really hard to invite guests on my show that have a lot to offer. And I really appreciate this guest. He's helped me in the past, and we'll get to that. But it's the amazing Everett Oliver. Hello, Everett. Thank you.
You're welcome. How are you?
I'm doing. I'm doing really great.
I've got to remember to look up. So
Yeah,
if I'm
me
not
too.
looking at the side, look up.
Listen, Everett, I did radio for I don't even want to tell you how many years. It's too embarrassing, but I have been on a microphone most of my life, but being on camera is different. So I
Oh
have to
yeah,
remember all those things.
and smile.
Smile, look,
Uh
don't
huh.
do this, don't
Hmm.
make funny faces, which I'm apt to do. But anyway, let's get right to it.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit. Now, I'm going to tell people before we get started that how you helped me was many years ago, maybe five or more,
Probably right. Probably
or
yeah.
seven. Well, anyway, you helped me with a couple of auditions because that is your specialty, one of your
Hmm.
many specialties, helping people do a good audition. And we're going to get
Hmm.
to that. But before we do, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this voiceover industry.
A little bit about me. Well, I moved here from Atlanta about 29 years ago. I kind of stumbled on it. Um, didn't know. I think from people who know me, think my personality that I was gonna come out here and be an actor. It was like that's not gonna happen because I can't remember lines. But I did remember that thinking that I was gonna go ahead and work in live action. So I'm a networker. So I made some phone calls and I ended up in an animation house called Film
Mm-hmm.
Roman,
Mm.
and I learned the animation business
Wow.
from behind the scenes in animation. That's how I really got started. And then I've worked on several primetime shows and Saturday morning shows back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And then, shows ended. And then I had one of the supervising producers say, you're great with people. We should put you in casting. And
Ooh.
I didn't have a background at all in casting at all. So I learned casting. I
Yes.
learned, you know, the different actors, and I'm coming from the union side of the business. So I know all of those actors who've been doing it probably now past, I would say, 10 plus years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Knows those type of actors, like Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche, and
Mm-hmm.
um, so Tara Strong, those people, E.G. Daily, those people.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
in working in all of those casting, then I remember my shows were ending, and my mentor, Charlie Adler, who's a voice director, I remember making a phone call to him, and then Charlie Adler, you know, came up with this booth director, and I had
Mm.
no idea what a booth
Wow.
director was. And he said to me, and I said, "Well, what was that?" And he said, "You need to go work for an agency, a talent agency." Well, that stage of my life, I was in my 40s. I was like, I'm not 25.
Yeah.
25-year-old people back then worked at a talent agency. They move fast. I mean, I'm a person
Right.
from the East Coast, so I move quick, but not as quick as a 25-year-old may
Right.
think.
Right.
So he said, go be a booth director and you'll learn the agency side of the business. And so I applied to AVO Talent, and I was hired as the booth director there.
Wow.
And so, in learning, being the agency side of the business and learning how to direct, that made me become a better director because I got to know actors who had not either worked on animated series or who hadn't booked anything voiceover wise. So I learned from the back way of the voiceover industry how they do things, and then I just started putting the pieces together. And then once I left AVO after being there for about 5 years, it was the epiphany that someone said to me, you can go ahead and open up your own business because I was able to. I've had all this extensive background in training of, directing actors and then working behind the scenes in cartoons and then, directing people on commercials and other industries that I just started forming, my own company.
Hmm.
So I've been in business for myself now. I just crossed over 7 years
Wow.
into it, doing it.
It's funny. Almost everybody I've interviewed has a story that is, they're all different, varied, of course, but
Hmm.
almost all of them, they fell into this or they fell into that. And then this fabulous thing came out of that. It's
Hmm.
almost like some things are just destined in the
Right.
stars to
Hmm.
happen.
Right.
And what you're describing is something that you didn't carve out for yourself.
No.
It happened to you and for
Hmm.
you. It's
Hmm.
amazing.
It was I think and as I learned and grow, the epiphany of, oh, I can own my own business.
Yeah.
And I'm the first in, well, I should say my relatives, my aunt and uncle had their own business. And so speaking to them and getting guidance from them as to, oh, this is how this whole business works. Because I was going in blindsided and
Mm-hmm.
then it just expanded. So I've expanded myself from working in the Los Angeles market to work in bi-coastal till now I'm like globally. So I have clients all over the world now who reach me and contact me. I
Yeah.
do various certain things for each client. It depends on their circumstances and their situation.
Yeah, because the
So
internet and COVID
COVID.
made it all possible. Because I'm assuming that you used to do all of your work in an actual studio, a downtown studio,
Well,
and now
when I first
everybody has
started,
their own studio.
yeah, when
Yeah.
I first started, I was traveling. So I came up with a game plan myself of being the coach that traveled to all the different cities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Mm-hmm.
gone. I was, I remember my neighbors were like, where are you going this weekend? Where are you going this time? And so I would travel. I made my business a part of that, me traveling to each of various cities from, you know, Atlanta to Seattle to
Wow. I
Tennessee,
remember that.
Nashville. So I did all of that within 2 years of my business to put myself out
Do
there.
you still do that?
And so I do traveling. I pulled back a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it, but for
Mm-hmm.
the most part, I haven't done it since COVID. But I was just back east for about 6 weeks, so I
Mm-hmm.
taught a class in New York. So sometimes I do, like next year, I think I'm going to wind up doing one or two cities next year, just to, because there's new talent out there too for me to see
Constant.
and
Constant. Yeah.
constant. So I'm always looking for new talent. I'm always looking for, people that's gonna just stick to me that I go, this might be a perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always dabbling in a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So and I made it a part of my business
So
to do
how
that.
do you, let's say you're going to Atlanta, how do you let the people in Atlanta know you're going there?
I usually contact. So one of the things that I'm excellent. My family would always say is I'm an excellent networker. So
Yeah.
I'm always moving and hustling. That's probably more from my New York background,
Mm-hmm.
and so I will contact a student, and a student will put me in touch with a studio, and then
Yeah.
I would go from there. Or I have enough colleagues now
Yeah.
that I could call a colleague and say, "Hey, listen, I'm coming. I'm going to be here for these certain dates. I want to plan a workshop," and I'll have either somebody, either a student put it together for me, or I'll contact the studio myself and I'll put it all together. So I'm pretty good at it now, or just finding that right person that'll do everything for me, and then I'll just go along with it.
Right. Now you're
Hmm.
just making me remember. I went to one of your classes at is it Track Voice West?
Was it the one in Orange County?
I can't remember.
I think we went to one in Orange
I,
County.
it was awesome. I loved it. John Malone was in it,
John
and
Malone was in it. John is gonna get me because I remember I'm
oh,
seeing him in 2 weeks, so
okay. Well,
I'll ask him.
listen. I think it was Voice Tracks is the name of the studio.
I might have done Voice Tracks
Marianne
West.
Wisner. Marianne
I
Wisner.
remember doing it
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah. It was. Well, it
It
was
must
a
have
long
been so.
time
It
ago.
must have been. It must have been either I was still a booth director, or I don't remember ever
You were
doing it
just
for
starting.
myself. I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
starting. So yeah.
Okay, but let's go from there because what I
Hmm.
remember is you had a script. we all had the same script, and then we got up at the microphone
Mm-hmm.
and tried to do our best kind of
Mm-hmm.
character. And
Mm-hmm.
then you would lead us, or move us a little bit along, like make it
Mm-hmm.
bigger, make it better. is
Mm-hmm.
that is that sort of what you still do?
I mean, my point of view is I have to tap into the performer. So everybody is unique and different, and I
Mm-hmm.
try to pull out their strengths. And sometimes I could feel their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more or less look when I'm directing now, especially for auditions, I'm more or less listening for people's point of view because everybody has something unique and different,
Mm-hmm.
and I can pull out a performance just when I can know who you are. So it usually takes me a couple of minutes to let me listen to you. I sort of go into like a trance, kind of like it's an intuitive thing where
Mm-hmm.
I can hear and I can visualize myself, and I normally can pick out certain things about the actual performer, about them that could trigger them to get them into the character. That's
Mm-hmm.
just something that I was a gift that was given to me that I probably tested it out while I was at the
Mm-hmm.
agency, and I
Mm-hmm.
just now I've developed it even
Mm-hmm.
stronger. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I normally do when I'm listening, especially when I'm getting an audition. I'm thinking, I'm asking them questions. I'm asking the actor questions about them,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm asking voiceover questions of everyday questions of who am I talking to, blah blah blah. And once I'm listening to them, I will get flashes, or I'll go like, tell me about your childhood, and then they go into their childhood, or tell me, especially if they're reading like middle school or like college level, especially when they have kids, because I also work with kids,
Mm-hmm.
and then they easily just transform themselves because it's a comfort level. It's
Mm-hmm.
very much of a comfort level, and
Mm-hmm.
I allow them to get really comfortable with me, and then I allow them to just take off, and then I tweak them.
That is
So I'm a
so
little different
right.
from a little bit everybody else. I want to, like, I just had a client today, and I say to them, I want you to go deeper. I need you to connect deeper into the copy. You're giving me surface level. And
Mm-hmm.
when that surface level, that just means is that it's not good enough
Mm-hmm.
and it's not competitive. Because in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, I'm thinking, you've got to be better. You've got to be the best of the best now. There's
Mm-hmm.
no more level, surface level. There's no
Mm-hmm.
more. You've got to bring it because you never know what specifically they want. I'm listening to acting. I'm not listening to a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell whether or not you're real, or I can tell whether or not um uh or you're figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people tend to like read copy and then they figure it out. That means to me that they didn't prepare and they didn't study.
Mm-hmm.
So then my blood pressure goes up
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, you're wasting time because you should have studied.
Yeah.
This is not something that you could just be able to just dive right in and figure out, because I have to bring real life experiences because I've worked in casting, because I've been at the recordings, and I've seen the different producers, and I put everybody in real life experiences so that way when they come in contact with producers and casting people, they already know specifically what to do and how to handle themselves. This whole audition process, I get it, but we're talking about real life for
Yeah.
when stuff actually happens.
Let's talk about that for a moment, on how things have changed in the,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. We're
That that sense of real.
right. You have
Uh
to be who you are. I
yeah.
mean, everybody's unique and different. You have to get used to all of this technology and you doing everything.
Oh
We
wait,
were spoiled.
sorry, my dogs. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
We was
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't. We were spoiled,
Yeah.
especially those of us who lived on the West Coast. Those of us who lived on the East Coast, they already have their equipment and stuff set up. Um, and it's just the trends are different. The the animation style is different. It's much more real, it's much more grounded, it's comedy. If you are hilarious, if you're a stand-up comedian, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for people who've got comedy timing. This has all come new. This wasn't like this. Everybody, as I would say back in the day, were putting on voices.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Yeah.
even hear the style of I'm coaching an actress now, and I'm like, she don't even remember the style, but I hear her cartooning and how she sounds. I'm like, honey, this is what they used to do
Mm-hmm.
when you were a child watching cartoons. Even the styles of the commercials, they're all different now.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm training people to do is you've got to be relevant. You've got to watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be, even in the cars while you're driving and you're stuck in traffic, you got to have the radios on. You've got to watch Netflix. You've got to watch Cartoon Network, Adult Swim. You have to constantly be in trends. You also, the main thing that a lot of coaches don't say that I'm going to say is you've got to network. Networking is a big part of all of this. And a lot of people weren't doing it years ago because they were using the same old people over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So when COVID shifted, it just brought this whole new perspective of how do we get through this as we're still going through this now with
Mm-hmm.
all the current stuff happening. How do we get through this? And that's what everybody has to figure out.
What do you say to a new person? I mean, again,
Who's
I know it's
starting?
all individual. A new
Mm-hmm.
person starting out who goes, "Gosh, I've got all these voices. I've been doing them since I was little, and I think I should be a voice talent." What do you say to them?
Can you act?
Hmm. Or have you had acting lessons, maybe?
I don't even say that. Can you act? When's the last time you've taken an acting class? When's the
Right.
last time you've done an improv class?
Mm-hmm.
Finances is a big thing. You know, how much money do you have? Because it's about coaching, it's about marketing, it's about coaching, it's about websites and technology and equipment. It's about coaching. It's about, and
Yeah.
it's an ongoing thing that people just don't realize. It's
Yeah.
about attending conferences. It's about networking. It's about your social media. It's so much involved that people just it's that little small portion of performance. That's all they care about is just performance. And I'm like, okay, you're not ready. You're not you. Mm-mm. Why waste time?
So what you're saying is, if you're going to compete with the big dogs, you have to have all of what you just said.
Absolutely.
And and every little part of that is its own universe. I mean, it's a big deal.
And you have to have a strong backbone. You have to be confident enough in who you are.
Hmm.
There's going to be days where you're going to go up and down and up and down. This is where you need a support system that they don't talk about in the industry. I've been in the industry for almost 30 years,
Hmm.
and my support system is not my parents or my relatives. My support system are people who work in the industry who
Hmm.
know what I go through each and every day. That was who
Hmm.
my support system was when I worked in live television, or I should say animated series. When I worked in animation, I tell all the actors all the time, you need a support system. They know, your peers know who you go through, what you go through, even though you're competing against them. You know,
Hmm.
it's a thing was it's the you're going through family stuff, health issues. We go through the natural everyday stuff that everybody else goes through, and you need that.
So when someone comes to you and says, "Will you help me figure out how to do an audition?" What's the beginning thing you say to them to start to prepare them?
I send me the copy so I can look at
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
because sometimes they forget.
Right.
Um, I usually let them go ahead and do their first pass just to see if they done their homework
Hmm.
and see where their head is. And then I watch them. I watch their body language. And then I go ahead and I become a very hard New Yorker and give them dirty looks and go, they're not going to book this. Hmm. Because the fact of the matter is they come unprepared. See, this all comes from me when I was a booth director. I was trained that you really had 3 to 5 minutes to do an audition. You should have been prepared. You should have did your homework. You should have your notes already on the side. You should already know all I'm doing is tweaking you.
Hmm.
That's all I'm supposed to do is tweak you. But there are some people that come to me that I spend maybe an hour, and I don't necessarily need to spend an hour with them. All
So
I'm doing is just listening.
what is the homework?
The homework is for them to look at the script.
Mm-hmm.
If there's references, they should be looking at listening to references.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they should be listening to the commercials. What is unique in that piece of copy? You have your own uniqueness. You should know. Uh, the vo- not even a vocal placement. The acting. The acting. What's funny in the script? How do I make that point across? How do I bring more point of view to it? My timing, my pacing, all of that stuff should be already incorporated. You should be coming and not thinking you should just be acting, not worrying about the voice. And everybody is just sitting up there, and I can hear. I when I'm hearing them perform for the audition, I go, "That's not you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you a specific reference. I might say, oh, it's a relative of yours. Tell me about a time that you had a family reunion at your family picnic or whatever, or you were at a picnic with friends, and someone stood out to you. I'm just giving you an image. Now take your personality and incorporate it in that image. Read the copy.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm listening, and then they're looking at me, and then I could see their wheels going, and they see the image, and then I say, okay, now that you have some of the, let's fine tune it, because now I'm thinking you've hit one ballpark. Now I want to go ahead. I want to go in a deeper level, because we can send two different, unique, different takes and submit. That's what I'm listening for.
Do you think some people have it and most don't? I mean, you stumble upon people who you go, "Oh my God, this person
I
has it."
There's some people I can tell. What I've done is I haven't found anybody that I say they can't do it. But what I've done is I would say for certain genres, I
Mm-hmm.
do remember saying to a couple of hours like animation is not for you. And I do remember people said, "Oh, I'm in a series," and I go, "Yeah, you're in a series, but maybe you're in a series for preschool as opposed to what we do on the West Coast. And I know you're looking for something bigger. And anybody can play a dad. Anybody can play a mom. I need you to be versatile. And if I don't hear that, I say that to you. I totally steer people in the right direction. And I also come across people who don't know what specific genre that or niche that they have, and I could pretty much listen to them, how they speak, their mannerisms, and their personality, and I guide them that way. As someone, people call me the ghost whisperer. I can kind of hear stuff, and I'll go, "Oh yeah, you need to be doing this. Don't worry about the other stuff. Take care of this first, and build up that." So I've
Mm-hmm.
done that for a couple of people as well. But I've
So,
never said anything to anybody that no, you can't do this at all. I haven't come across that yet.
well, no, you could never say that.
I
You have
could
to.
probably.
They probably wouldn't believe you. You know, the people that want to be a voice talent or voiceover, whatever, you have to have a passion to do it, or wouldn't you say don't do it? I mean, it's so much
Well,
heavy lifting to get into this business.
it is. I mean, people do have a passion, but then there's some people that just, I don't know. I think that they're giving it a shot because they're too afraid to be on camera. I get a
Uh,
lot of actors who are like that,
mm-hmm.
that I have something, but I just don't want to put myself out there. And I'm like, okay, because they're covering up with this wall, which is a whole nother different conversation that I meet a lot of
Yeah.
people who have some self defense mechanisms, that trauma, as I call them, from their past, that you can hear when they're reading.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes a thing too, of getting them, letting that wall come down, and them being vulnerable and playing, because that's what it is you should be doing voiceovers, playing,
Mm-hmm.
if you're passionate about it you know
Well, let's give you your website right now. I haven't done that yet. It's voiceactingdirector.com. Everett
yes,
Oliver.
all one word, voiceactingdirector.com, all one word.
And what's your email? Because you want to give your email. so that
Sure.
people can contact you? What is that?
My EO, my
Mm-hmm.
initials there,
Mm-hmm. EO.
at voiceactingdirector.com, all one word.
Okay, great. And did you say to put my name in the subject
Yes,
line so
put
you know
Bo
it's
Hudson so I
direct
know
related to this? Okay.
to this.
So what's happening right now with the industry? What are you feeling that where is it headed? What's going on?
Everyone's all out of work,
Y-
or those all the union actors are out of work, or so-called out of work.
That
I
is
think
for
the
sure.
on-camera actors, I should say, it hasn't really affected too much of the voiceover industry.
Yeah.
I feel like the gaming industry might take a little hit because they might add that to the contract. So that's going to be interesting. I think that everyone is figuring stuff out. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that um, there's problems coming with this AI. Everyone's
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure this whole thing out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really affecting so much of us again in the voiceover industry, but it has.
Mm-hmm.
People are struggling. They're trying to figure it out. My suggestion is for them to do coaching while we're around now, because the fact is that you're not busy doing other projects. But there's a lot of people I know who are picking up work
Mm-hmm.
all
And
over.
they're picking up work because there is a lot of work,
There's
right?
a lot of work. There is work out there. There's work in different genres that I
Mm-hmm.
advertise all the time. Besides, there's dubbing, there's anime, there's adult erotica, there's all this other stuff that nobody's touching. That there's work in other areas,
Mm-hmm.
and I do an online program every Thursday, and I have people professionally come in to these online classes, and I think you've attended to my online classes,
Mm-hmm.
and I bring in people from all different genres who teach, from casting directors to agents to regular people who in their field. And so, I'm a avid believer and a promoter of, if I find good quality people, I bring them in for them to share their knowledge and expertise. But as far as the industries goes, it's gonna be a bumpy road, so everybody should just hang tight.
Yep, that's right.
It's the best
And
you can do.
but you have to hang tight and still be on your game. You
Absolutely.
have to be able to do both.
Hmm.
Okay, so these online coaching sessions, how do people find out about that? On your website?
Yes, they should email me. They should
Okay.
definitely email me
Mm-hmm.
and tell me that they want to get on my mailing list, and I will
Okay.
add them to the mailing list. My classes are every Thursdays from 5 to 7 Pacific time, and I only have no more than
Mm-hmm.
students. No more. The maximum is 12, but 10 students. So it's first come, first serve.
Okay.
Don't email me if you see a class online. Some people try to email me to save a spot. Nope. You have to
Okay.
register. It's all
Okay.
about registering, you
Okay,
know.
got it.
So, my emails usually go out, like I usually go a couple of days prior to let them know about the
Mm-hmm.
classes. I don't do monthly stuff because it just drives me insane. I have way too much stuff going on. Me
Mm-hmm.
putting out a whole, here are a bunch of people who are coming. You'll see it on social media. You'll
Okay.
see it on my mailing list. And
Okay.
that program has been going on for about a good 4 or 5 years. And I've been bringing in a lot of people and getting people connected. And that's one of the things that I do is my strong suit besides networking is connecting people. I've connected people to agents. I've connected people to other different coaches. That's just one of the strong suits that I see that's a fit.
Mm-hmm.
I've guided people. It's almost like the career. I do career counseling too, and say nope, don't do that. I've started people with projects. I had a student who came to me who wants to do animation, and I told her not to do animation, and she created a whole e-learning module program.
Yeah.
And I went and told her, I said, you need to do something with e-learning, and she put together a whole e-learning module on characters that I had taught, and so I'm in this e-learning module that something that I wasn't thinking about that I created for her and told her to go do. So I do stuff like that in the industry. I'm very low key. People will see me here and there at a conference. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind
Mm-hmm.
of a one person that people know how to reach me. If they want to work with me, they reach out to me. You
Yeah.
know, and stuff
If
like that.
someone has a really important audition, they think I
They
could
come to me.
nail this.
Hmm.
They should
They
get
can
a
reach
hold of
out.
you, Everett, and then you
Hmm.
polish it.
I polish it. I
Yep.
edit it. I kick them in the butt. I make them
Yep.
cry. This is what. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, that's what we have to have. Okay,
Exactly.
so it is voiceactingdirector.com,
Mhm.
Everett Oliver, Everett, Oliver, regular spelling. And thank you so much for being with me. Is there anything you want to add?
No, it's great. I appreciate. Thank you so much for inviting me. I know we haven't seen
Yeah,
each other in such a long
I
time.
know. I I I have this little series, and I try to get the best of the best, and I've done pretty well so far with my own networking. Um, but
That's the
the
key.
I think what we both agree on is the industry is changing in a direction that we don't even know what's
You
going to
don't.
happen.
We just have to wait. You have
It's
to
an
wait and see when
unknown.
it fall. Right.
It's
And
an
people are
unknown.
scared. They're
Yeah,
scared of the unknown. And I'm like not a person of being scared.
yeah,
You just have to just figure it out how it fits for you,
for you. Yeah.
not your family. If you could figure out, once you figure out the elements and the parts on how, okay, so yes, we're doing online stuff. So great. How do I go ahead and I meet an agent? I would work with a coach that has connections who knows the agent and let that connection work. I mean, it's really basic and simple. You have to think outside the box. It's the same thing in doing an audition. You got to think outside your box. You have to be, and I know I say this wrong, you've got to be uncomfortable to be comfortable,
Hmm.
or if it's the other way around.
I get it.
That's all. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You've got to have opportunity. You know, the way everything is going to shift. How do I make it work for me? If you have that in your mindset,
Hmm.
everything else will fall into place. It's going to hit you, like you said, it's going to hit you like a lightning bolt.
Hmm.
Oh, if I go to these gaming conferences, maybe I could reach the right casting person. You know, I got to figure, if I can't get there in person, is there an online uh, um, uh, link that I can go ahead and join all these classes? Or who are the top people who can propel me to, in marketing? Who should I go talk to? And don't talk to just one person. You've got to talk to a bunch of different people because everybody has different perspectives,
Hmm.
and you'll understand, you know, what's the right one that fits for you, and you'll know everybody has a tingling feeling.
They
Everybody
do.
has a gut feeling. I don't care. Even animals have a tingling feeling. Everybody, if that gut or that inner voice tells you, I shouldn't be studying with that coach, don't do it. If you've been at it with an agent for more than a certain amount of years, why are you still with that agent and that's not working for you? Don't do it. Find someone else. So I literally, I'm a headstrong person, but I'm a person that's going to tell it to you and say, you know this is not the right thing for you. Move on. There's always a period where you're in your life that you've done it for 10 years, you've done it for 20 years. It's time for a change. Embrace the change. I know it's scary, but you never know what that opportunity and that possibility could be.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Awesome.
finished
Well, thank you,
preaching.
Everett. I'm so happy to see you and talk to you, and I just wish the best of everything to you, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thanks for
inviting me.
being here.
Okay.